On behalf of IDA Mumbai branch, I would like to invite all of you. COVID-19 is an era which has changed everything, including dentistry. Dentistry is not going to remain the same what we used to practice earlier. It is a time to embrace change. A wise dentist is wise enough to embrace this change. It is time to learn and unlearn. So we have chosen the finest gurus in dentistry who can let us learn what all changes are required. So in this, today we are having Dr. Hemant Dusia. The further introduction will be given by none other than Dr. Rajesh Gaikwad. Just to give a two-liner, he is fighting for patients. He is a frontliner in this COVID-19 war. So he has taken out some time to address us all. May I now welcome Dr. Rajesh Gaikwad. Dr. Rajesh Gaikwad, over to you.
Good morning, everyone. So you all know that warrior usually see the opportunity to fight against any war. So similarly, as a healthcare professional, God has given us the opportunity to fight against COVID-19. And I request, it's my humble request to all of you that you should all download this Diksha app and take the COVID training and take active part in this war against COVID. Now, for today's session, Dr. Sanjay Joshi, an eminent oral surgeon, oral and maxillofacial surgeon, is my mentor and a teacher par excellence. He is an active IDA member and currently heading Department of Oral and Maxillofacial Surgery at Terna Dental College. I welcome Dr. Sanjay Joshi, sir, as a moderator. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rajesh, and good morning, friends. Greetings from IDA Mumbai branch. Trust all of you and your families are doing well and strictly following the government advisories. Welcome to this brainstorming session on infection prevention and control. What are the changes? What are the challenges? And what are the cures? This is being brought to you, as mentioned earlier, by Indian Dental Association Mumbai branch and ALChem. I would like now to introduce you to none other than the speaker for the day today, Professor Dr. Hemant Dusia, who is also my teacher. It's a great privilege to introduce him. He is a professor and head of dentistry at LTM Medical College, which is known as Sion Medical College and Hospital, Mumbai. He is a former Dean Academics and Chairman Board of Research for Medicine, Physical Therapy and Occupational Therapy at the same institute. He has been imparting medical and dental education for the past 28 years, has over 100 national and state and international publications and presentations. He is also an undergraduate and postgraduate teacher at the University of Mumbai and also at other universities. He has been the immediate past president of AOMSI Maharashtra chapter, IDA Mumbai branch, and the IDA Maharashtra state branch. He is a faculty member of the Mumbai District AIDS Control Society and IGNOU. He is an assistant editor of the Journal of Indian Dental Association, Advisory Board, International Journal of Multidisciplinary Health Sciences, member bulletin on adverse drug reactions of LTM Medical College, and also the member review board of Terna Journal of Dental Sciences. He is the founding chairman of Trinity Medical Students Conference at Sion Hospital Medical College. He is advisor with the Maharashtra Public Service Commission and ex-chairman Board of Studies, University of Mumbai, and its member of board of MUHS also. May I now call upon Dr. Hemant Dusia to begin his presentation.
Good morning, everybody. Right at the outset, let me thank Professor Joshi for such lovely words. He is, of course, the current Joint Secretary, IDA Head Office, one of the best oral surgeons known in Mumbai. People tell me at Terna, they have never seen a teacher like him, a humble person. I could talk a lot about him, but anyway, Dr. Joshi, thank you so much for all those kind words. I also take this opportunity to thank President Dr. Mahendra, Secretary Dr. Rajesh, IDA Mumbai branch. A special word of thanks to Dr. Bimal Mehta, convener CDE Mumbai branch this year, for having me here. Also, I need to place on record my thanks to Dr. Jeevan Shetty, who was very helpful in getting this program online. I also need to place on record thanks to Dr. Nitin from Alchem, Madam Richa from Alchem again, and all the other officers. Dr. Mahendra has said things are not going to change. Let's see how they may change and what cure are we going to give them. I'll go to the first slide. I know everybody is now again. In fact, there were the WhatsApp going on. Next webinar, whoever gives will be taken to court of law and it will be jailed. I understand all of us are, almost we have died of webinar, but still, we have to keep on learning because like COVID-19, this is an ever-changing branch. All of us, dentists, doctors, anesthesiologists, I put this picture on purpose. This is an anesthetist who is feeding a baby of a COVID-19 patient. So this is the kind of care and love given by the dental and medical people. So I would also like to thank such as Dr. Mahendra said, frontline runners for COVID-19. Samuel Weiss, he told us long in the 18th century that we need to wash. Today, the same thing, spraying phenol, carbolic acid. On the left is Professor Mikulix. He told us about wearing gloves. Sorry, he's Dr. Helston. On the right is Dr. Mikulix. He talked about wearing masks. And this is all 19th century. Nothing has changed since then. In 1882, there was a huge thing about before surgery, they started washing 1882. I do the same thing today, but not properly. A small word on coronavirus. See, basically it came in 2002 as severe acute respiratory syndrome. Then came the Middle East. Now is the severe acute respiratory syndrome COVID-2 or known as COVID-19. This is a virus that keeps on mutating. This is the 7th time it has mutated, and we have to be very careful. All of us know this virus is in abundance in the nasopharyngeal and salivary secretions. And this is the place where we work. So we need to be really very, very careful. This is me as part 1 MDS student. Nothing has changed much except we kept on learning and relearning. So like all of us, we have also tried to earn and lean. And I'm showing you this slide not for show purpose, but if you can see on the upper hand side, this WHO runs courses today. It's a beautiful, small, maybe 20 minutes course on infection prevention, what you can do. And at the end of the course, online, you get a certificate. So sitting at home, we need to also enhance our knowledge. I will talk about issues, maybe what happened yesterday and today. We'll talk about the staff. That means the doctors, the clinical assistants, the associates. Protection, all about PPE, masks and all. I will try to be very brief because today, if you click anywhere at random, you'll find at least one presentation or one article on all these things. We'll have to talk about how was the operatory before and how we need to change them now. We'll have to talk about patients. Economics, very important. And I tell you, I just heard Dr. Muchala earlier, and he talked beautiful economics. If one had listened to him, probably we will not have to worry. We'll of course talk about the prophylaxis, very, very important. And finally, 2 lines on the biomedical waste. I will request Professor Joshi, if he wants, he can intervene in between, or probably he can put this input. So now we come to the issue. So infection control basically is everyone's business. You can't say it's the doctor, it's the doctor assistant. Even the IABI there has to be known, and they should follow the norms and statutes as given by the various bodies. Now today, if you see the clinical picture, there are enough, what should be done now? So we were planning after 3rd of May, what should be done? There are going to be changes. As they say, life will never be the same. One doctor beautifully put, he said, our children will be made to sit on single benches. No one would come and hug us. Anyways, we know if you enter your building probably they look at you as if you are a thief. So some dental surgeons will not have enough courage only to start practice. They will just keep on thinking. There could be somebody who will be full of knowledge. He will remember what should be done, what should not be done. But at the beginning, he may just forget. So this is where we come into play. Then there could be someone who will be just shocked. He will see the first patient and wearing patient without a mask, or he has not used the proper hand, he will not know what to do. And finally, we that is dedicated to almost 90% of dental surgeons who are girls today. This is very important. IDA Mumbai branch, the president, secretary, the executive committee has come out with a beautiful letter to all the members. This says not to get worried. We are there, but follow statutes. And the last line says no mask, no entry. Very important. Even today, I'll tell you, on the 5th day of practice, once we start, there'll be enough patients coming in without mask. So it will be our duty now to tell the attendants, stand out with a sanitizer and please hand over mask. Mask, I would like to speak because Professor Joshi has told me to speak in a little details. So I'll come to that. Now the problem is, we know we are going to have difficult times, but also the government, for example, the government of MP categorically stated that you cannot start your practice. So of course, all of us know, maybe a few of us are still practicing, but to me, it is very dangerous, very, very dangerous. I can understand the economic part of it, but they are my brothers. In fact, they are like my children. All are like, almost all are smaller than my child. You should not. Of course, for example, the J&K branch went to the government asking for some kind of package, but the resident civil surgeon was there. He came to all the clinics. He had constituted a task force, and they went to the clinics and made them shut down. So the whole point is, if you're thinking of starting practice, wait till there are guidelines from the government of India, Maharashtra, DCI and MSDC, and this is very important. Now also, there's a Supreme Court ruling. On the right side, if you see, it says very clearly, for the doctor's chambers, no aerosol reducing procedures will have to be done. That means even if we start our practices, even if we have everything like PPE in place, we cannot do any aerosol generating, because this is going to do harm to the society. Everyone knows, very bad. Aerosols means bacteria, everything here. Aerosols, they will remain in the air for at least in our clinics 2 hours. And they fall at a distance of 2 meters. That means everything in the clinic, in small clinic, everything will be contaminated, and that will give to what we call as formite procedures. I'll come to it in a moment. Then this is Dental Council and MSDC. Both have they have not said not to practice, but they have given guidelines. Please keep this in mind. You can just log on to these 2 sites. Even you can log on to MSDC, and there are guidelines in line. And I think every one of us who's in practice academics need to read this thoroughly and start, because this will bring a change in our kind of practice.
So Dr. Dhusia, if I can interrupt for a minute.
Now we come to the second part of the page. Sir.
Yeah. So before we move ahead, you mentioned about certain sections of the country, certain states mentioning about not beginning practice or not dental practice is not to be started. At the same time, you hear governments requesting all private clinics to open up, all private nursing homes to open up, so that the non-COVID patients are not harassed, that they get the services that are needed. For example, we know in state of Maharashtra, the government has been pushing for private clinics to open up. for at least treating the emergency. So that can you clarify on that part a little bit?
Absolutely, sir. I have two answers for this. One is, of course, see what happens, also if if I will be very honest, these are mainly for the medical practitioners. There is nothing for dental practitioners. However, I also agree with them. See, you may open your clinic to treat emergencies only. I'll come in a moment what are emergencies to my mind. But the problem is when you open, everything will have to fall in place, right? From sanitization to mask for the patients to social distancing. If we can do all this, and if we can do a procedure which is not aerosol generating, I think it is not wrong. Now, why I showed the other letter was, it was a letter from the government telling the dental surgeons to stop practice. So it's in the book. If I can do a procedure taking care of all the PPE, I as well do only emergency procedures, to my mind. And as I said in the beginning, see, this is an infinity. This keeps on changing every single day. For example, there was a beautiful article. I'll just take a moment, Dr. Joshi. There was a beautiful article on what causes COVID-19 now. See, what they were telling is it has nothing to do with the respiratory system. What was happening basically was there was a DIC, disseminated coagulation all over the body. And also there was an interstitial coagulation in the lungs, which was the killer. And then they say nobody probably needed that time ventilator or maybe an ICU admission. So it keeps on changing. So probably laws also will keep on changing. But then we have to stay. I think we have to wait for a detailed guidelines from the MSDC. You have been very active at the central level. Professor Kokate is there. Dr. there.
Yes.
No, a clear-cut guidelines for us will be very important. Because sorry, please, sir.
Yeah. So in fact, this is the issue, and we are from the Indian Dental Association once again likely to approach the central government also on very clear directives, because there is a confusion of directives from some corners of the country. Some corners are saying don't practice. Some other states are saying start your, meaning at least open up clinics. So we need some proper directives from the government on this, and the Indian Dental Association is going to take up the matter for very clear guidelines and directives on this part. Please continue, sir.
Yeah, that's why I say you have to be a part of the IDA, because we have to be together. Together we can change the nation. And thank you, Dr. Joshi. I know you are spearheading this project, and maybe very soon it will come. So as far as we know, footfalls are going to become very, very less. Patients who are not in very acute severe pain will not come. There will be a huge problem for the patients to come to your practice. Because patients who love you, who like you, who respect your skill will come from all corners of the city, and they may find it difficult. Appointments will have to be given online only, on telephone. Once the patient comes in, I'll again go into details. He will give a history. Now it will be the clinician's wisdom as to validate the history, because all of us know so many people, they were having fever, enough cases. So we'll have the dental surgeon will have to use his wisdom to actually find or know whether the history given is proper or not. Social distancing. It will be difficult because I know at least, maybe at least 10% of our practices are 2-room practices, and there's one small room where you have the waiting area and then the chair for the receptionist. Now, in this, it's going to be very difficult to maintain distancing. One patient walk in with just one single relative. We call it, I'm telling relative because in Sion Hospital, we call Chagewala. Of course, the books say, or the net says attenders. There should be only single relative. And mind you, the relative should not be a child or an elderly person. Okay. Everyone will have to sanitize them, maybe at least hand sanitize and hand over a mask. So we start with, patient can talk to you on telephone. Sanitize, give him a mask, take his temperature. Now this is to be done with an infrared non-contact thermometer. And I think the IDA Mumbai branch is, I'm not very sure, but they are making huge efforts to try and procure such thermometers and give it to our branch members either at a very reasonable price or maybe as a gift. pulse oximetry is very, very important. Today, the task force of Government of Maharashtra, headed by Dr. Sanjay Oak, makes it mandatory for everybody. I mean, they have a group of people going around houses. Everyone has to undergo a pulse oximetry, and then they decide whether the patient has to be quarantined or sent to a hospital or not. So I'll just now, this is very important. Once the patient comes to my clinic, I'll have to assure him that I myself had got my COVID test done, including my juniors and all my staff. If this is there, the patient will have huge, he'll be reassured and he'll have great faith in me. So consultation, see, earlier the Medical Council, Government of Maharashtra said you just cannot do a telephonic consultation. But now you can. I'll tell you how. There is, on the 25th of March 2020, the Medical Council came out with a notification that physical assessment may not be necessary. You can do it on the telephone, SMS, or via WhatsApp. Now, Section 4 of the earlier Epidemic Act will prevent you, will immunize you against any patient going to the court of law. See, he may tell, doctor has not seen my oral cavity, but you have this will save you. And this is the important part. Every time tell the patient that these are there if I'm doing a proper physical examination. You have to tell the consultation on phone. Everything that you do talk should be recorded, because the judge then will say what was not recorded was not done. It is very important. If you do this, you just can't do, because to my mind, at least for the next 3 to 4 months, everything will be telephonic consultations. Appointments will have to be made online. Okay, now we come to the operatory. I wish this tunnel would be everywhere, but now
if I take a minute.
Sir.
So what Professor Dr. Dhusia spoke just now, friends, was something which is a big change for us. If I look at the whole concept of what is going to change post COVID-19, is that the infection control protocol starts from the time the patient steps out from his home. This is a big change. This did not exist earlier. So from the time he is stepping out from his home to come to your clinic, the infection control protocol has to be put into place right from that point until he arrives in your reception. And the front office protocol also has changed drastically now. Your front office is no more going to remain what it used to be earlier. There is a lot of change that is expected, and that is compulsory and mandatory that all of us do. All the clutter in the front office needs to be simply done away with. All the interior decoration that you may have done will have to be toned down, because the more the items that are there in the front office, the more sanitization that you will need, more complicated it gets. So all the surfaces in the front office need to be very easily cleanable, very easily sanitizable. So the big change that I see in COVID-19 is not as much in the operatory. Of course, there are some additional points which are coming into the operatory, which we will speak of, but the larger change is in the front office itself. Okay, Dr. Dhusia, please.
Thank you, sir. So I wish before the clinic there could be a tunnel like this, but now they say you can't spray. So there's a new thing I just wanted to share. There's something called as an ozone sanitization tunnel. Now this is Sang Hospital. This is maybe hardly 4 feet by 8 feet. Now I wish, and it's not very costly. This was given to us by Bisleri. What I wish is if we can, the good clinic, if they can keep it in front of the offices, or maybe the building entrance also, it will help. It's very simple. There is, the patient enters and there's a fan. Now there's a small machine that will generate ozone. You have to wait for 60 seconds and then you come out almost sanitized. Now, if you see here, this is the machine which will generate ozone. So that fear of, spraying hypochlorite on patient has gone. This is the next thing. And, if you can afford, you can tell a society where you're practicing, I'm going to put this for all the people. So, it's a beautiful thing. And on the right, here is my dean who got us this. And I'm showing you because he's one of the, he is the, I'm not great because people whom I really feel inspired with. On the left is, so before you enter the clinic, there should be a small dispenser that will dispense sanitizers. This is important. The moment patient comes, or even on telephone, ask of all of us know. I know I'm repeating. Dr. Joshi will agree with me. In medical or dental education technology, you will tell them what you're going to tell, then you will tell them, and then you tell them what you have told. So I know you know, but I'm just going to repeat. History of fever, dry cough, breathlessness, diarrhea, nausea, loss of smell, myalgia, and loss of taste. If this is the sensation, if this is there, if you have at least 2 to 3 symptoms, yes, defer the treatment. Ask for quarantine and ask for a medical advice. I'll tell you what will happen. If you ask for a medical advice, I've read this in one of our this. 2 things will happen. The patient may sort of either thank you or curse you. Third thing, still they would say he is still a dental surgeon. What was his big business? So I don't know. And if he turns positive, then the place where he's quarantined, everyone is going to curse you. To my mind, I'm speaking my mind here. But you need to send the patient. Now, this is important. If you do a thermometry and 104 Fahrenheit or 30 degrees centigrade is fever, if this is there, send the patient back. Pulse oximetry is very important, and I've put the slide on purpose because, see, till 94 it is good enough. Till you have a mild hypoxemia, it's good enough. All the patients are fighting fit. Anything below than 94, you will have to refer the patient to a medical facility. This is important. One very important change. Pulse oximeter, to my mind, will cost between 800 and 1,200. I have requested the IDA president and the secretary to think and even sort of get this in bulk and give to the. And it is there. Of course, Professor Joshi must be using, because pre-surgery, every surgical case they put it. But now this will be like the change they said, part of every practice. It will be like a mouse and mirror probe.
So I will take a minute here, Dr. Dhusia, before you move ahead.
Sure.
So the dilemma in people's mind, especially healthcare workers, is at one end you want a thermometer which is infrared and which is contactless, and in another end you are advising a pulse oximetry which is with contact. Now these are two different dimensions of testing or screening, as I might say. I know the significance of pulse oximetry is great, and I am also been reading articles on that same. The question then comes to my mind is, how do I disinfect this pulse oximetry machine?
Okay.
Please do cover it later on. Yeah.
I can if you want. See, sir, there are 2 things that come. One is a jugaad. We have the plastic gloves, the over gloves. You can cut each finger, let the patient wear that, and on that you put your pulse oximeter, number 1. Or you can use glutaraldehyde to desanitize the machine. But you are very right. You just cannot use it from a patient to the other without having an interim sterilization. Now this is very important because consent, all of us know consent. But today you will have to take a special consent which is called consent for the pandemic. So there'll have to be one more additional page or line. You have to have everything in place, as Dr. Joshi. You have to have pulse oximetry, have a stethoscope, but you should use this properly. If you see very carefully, the doctors' earpieces are. This should not be done, because after some time what will happen, we'll just keep it for MKW purpose. Okay. Of course, this I will not go into details. This is important once again. Now, what they said was diarrhea was almost close to 37% in. Now, you tell me, why are you telling me this? The thing is, what they say, till 3 months after the patient is negative, he will keep on shedding this virus into his stools. Now, you tell me, why? The thing is, in our washroom, if a patient comes and uses, number 1, don't use the washroom immediately. Number 2, ask him to shut the lid and flush. And third thing is, if possible, sanitize. This is very important. It's like respiratory hygiene again. So to my mind, there are only 3 emergencies. Dr. Joshi may add, because I know one is, of course, infection, orofacial, which could be life-threatening. And a classical example is a Ludwig's angina, where the tongue is elevated and the respiratory passage may be compromised. Second thing could be a facial fracture. Not all fractures. a facial fracture which could compromise. For example, if you have a bilateral parasymphyseal fracture, for sure the tongue is going to fall back. Now again here, I can still do repositioning it with a transparental wires, but then this could be an emergency. And of course, third, bleeding. It could be from a tumor, it could be from whatever. So uncontrollable bleeding, orofacial infection, life-threatening, and fractures which are again compromising the airway are the only emergency procedures to my mind. And I would do them initially with all the, I may do them without a PPE also, but these cases only I will address initially in my practice. Now, no, not, you tell me, so what else? Now, what they say is, now these were emergencies. There is something called as a dental urgency, where there is acute pain. And all of us, maybe at least me, have found Enzoflam to be very good. Or I can say, diclofenac, paracetamol, ratio peptides combination. We have been using, in fact, all the OPDs describe this by the emergency where there is a carious exposure or where there is severe pain. Probably I'll encourage Enzoflam. We come to the standard patient protocol. Hand hygiene, of course, yes, as Dr. Joshi said, you'll have to sanitize him. Pre-procedural mouthwash is very important. 2% betadine or 1% hydrogen peroxide beautifully reduces the number of bacteria and maybe the viruses, So every procedure, even, if I'm going to do an exam, I would do this. All of us know now, these are very repeat and salivary, high-vex sections. Rubber dam is a must. Professor Kokate and Dr. Hiren Patel talked, in great detail. So I will not, of course, any intraoral imaging to my mind should not be done. If you want imaging, go for a CBCT or maybe an OPG or rare cases a CT scan. So this is the mouthwash, and rubber dam is a must to my mind. Kokate sir has spoken in great details, and I think that is still on the net. The best way to actually, sterilize the patient is put him in the autoclave, but it's not possible. Now there are 2-3 things happening in the market. There are some, there are machines. They claim that they can, suck away all the aerosol. I'm not very sure. I will repeat what Kokate sir said. A better thing would be to use a micromotor, which will increase the speed and do maybe a caries preparation or whatever it is, carisol, and take care of the pain. But no aerosol generating procedures at all. Of course, as Joshi sir said, it will not be the same. You'll have to have visual charts telling the patient what I'm going to do. As he said rightly, remove everything, no reading materials. The handles will have to be sanitized time and again, every time a patient comes in. And this is lovely. You have a disposable footwear. It's like, when you go to the second floor of IDA, head office, I know all of us. Now that is good because when the patient spits, coughs, or maybe, when there's something generated, it will fall on the foot first. He will carry that. So instead, let him have a disposable footwear, and when he goes, he has to remove and just dispose it. Of course, there should be a social distancing, as said earlier. If you have multiple chairs, treat one patient. Very important. Now, this was going on the, the question was whether you were supposed to use AC or not. So, Dr. Mahendra, I said, probably you can use a window AC, have the vent on. But he said, no, the split ACs will not have a vent. So, because it will be difficult even without a PP to work in our offices without AC. What I would say is run the AC for some time, then open the windows for 10-15. This is my thing. Have something called as air purifiers with HEPA. It is high efficiency particulate air filters. Of course, fumigation, disinfection, you have to do. I'll come and go in details. Now this is thanks to my friend Dr. Sharif Firoz. Sharif is another person who has taken great interest in all these things. He has been giving me lots of inputs. On the right, if you see the video is of his brother-in-law telling us that when you have an air filter, so why air filter? You can have an AC and air filter together in your office. Air filters are beautiful things. They will tell you, they'll give you a signal if the air is bad, and you have there'll be signal change the filter. Now it is very important when you're changing the filter, wear gloves, and you have to dispose that in a biomedical waste disposal manner. Have a fogging machine, not if taken actual photos, it's not bad.
I think we are having some connection issues. Give us a minute. By the time we are back with you all. In the meantime, I'm looking at some of the questions that have been coming in as Dr. Dhusia has been talking. One of the questions, of course, is how to take care of aerosols. And as mentioned by Dr. Dhusia, as at this point of time, we are not recommending that aerosol generating procedures be done at all. Once we get a guidance and clearance on doing aerosol procedures, even after that, you will have to be sure that you have, so one of the most important things that will be needed is a high volumes evacuation system. So a high vac suction is an extremely important tool that all of us will have to invest in. Just a saliva ejector is not going to be enough. Right, so Dr. Dhusia is back, I think. Let him continue with his presentation. Are we getting Dr. Dhusia on?
Yes, sir. Dr. Dhusia, I think your audio is muted. If you can unmute yourself.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Now.
Okay. Okay. So that was what you put in the machine. Then disinfection, very important. The best thing to my mind, sir, I'm with you, Dr. Joshi, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. The best thing is, I'll just go to one slide here, is to use sodium hypochlorite or household bleach. Now, this is a very important, good slide. It tells you use liquid bleach and you have various dilutions. Very simple. 1 liter, 4 liters of water for sanitization. Now, this again is from Dr. Sharif Feroz. He has bought this machine. He has bought 1,500 rupees. This is sodium hypochlorite. You put this in this and sanitize your entire clinic and maybe the external surfaces also. If you don't want to use this, you have a machine which works on battery. But today, this is going to be the need of the hour. Every clinic should have this to disinfect the surfaces. So these are the places we touch fomites. So 3 things we touch every day. This will have to be taken special care of. Now what we do at SAN is we have this clean wrap. The plastic we use for wrapping food, this can be used and you can wrap this before each patient. And then even while fogging, you can use this and then dispose them. And there's a huge difference between an antiseptic and a disinfectant. Hand washing is still the most important thing which will help us and the patient. And on insistence of Dr. Vimal Mehta sir, I have put one video. Now there are 3 things. Plain soap is again very good, but 20 seconds mean 20 seconds. If you see very carefully, if you see the watch, we will never use 20 seconds. We'll do NKW or dip technique. Antibacterial soaps are very important, but the best is an alcohol with sanitizer with the emollient. is the best. This is what Bimal sir told me. He said, we'll just repeat once again how to wash hands before our practice. This is an old video. Sir, please tell me at least 10 minutes before I need to wrap up, because
Yes, yes.
this is very important. There's a huge confusion about masks. See, just remember. Okay, I'll show you. So remember, there is a mask which is a cloth surgical mask or a respirator, N95, 9900. Then there is P1, P2, P3. Again, filtration rate. N is not oil proof. Now, these masks were basically made for industries where they had lots of oil coming in. Probably it is definitely not, because now we have oil-free compressors. So not for dentistry. This, now, in the morning I did this. This is a cloth mask. This is still the best for most of our patients. Number one, cloth mask can reduce infection transfer by at least 63 to 65%. It is not good for you have pleats in, because only when you have pleat you can cover the nose and the chin. Otherwise, it will be of no use. On the right is a surgical mask. Now, this is important because most of us will be using this most of the time in our practice. Now, surgical, I know I'm repetitive. Surgical mask is, they say, 3-ply. It is very important. You have to ask your dealer whether it is actually 3-ply, because I have seen 3 different, surface lining. The inner lining is an absorbent thing that will absorb the various, saliva, maybe some this thing, and whatever will moisten it. The middle part is very important. It is made up of a melting acrylic. That is the filter. That is the thing that actually does the trick. And of course, the outer lining is material that will be a liquid repellent. So to my, that's the best. Now there could be, this is a respirator, N95. If you are using, if you have any doubt that the patient could be a positive person, or if you have even the smallest doubt, use this. Or anywhere we are going to use even a drill or a motor or this thing, use this, very important. This N95 is having 95 to 99%, it will just prevent. And what they say, up to 0.3 microns is efficacy. This is a respirator with a valve. Now this is good because when all of us have worn all this, if anywhere this will realize after some time, when you're breathing in and out, the mask actually goes in because there's a nice tight air seal. And after some time, it really becomes a little humid. This valve is a one-way valve, non-returnable. When you breathe, the air goes out, but the valve is closed. Now, what is happening here is you prevent buildup of carbon dioxide. Breathing is a little better. And of course, for asthmatics, it is still better. Now, this was given to us by the hospital. Uh, uh, so I thank them. This is again very, all of us know we can now reuse what we do at Fan, I'll tell you. N95 masks, most of us will take home, wash it, next day iron it and wear again, number one. Number two, you can always dry it in sun for 4 to 5 hours and wear again. Or the best thing is what the ICMR CDC recommends. So for example, this, if I wear this mask on day one, I'll wear this, another one, another. So on the day 5, I'm going to use the first mask again, by which time the mask is almost sterilized. And of course, we have tried, if you mild ironing does beautiful tricks. That's how we have. And of course, this is very important slide. It has to be either certified by the National Institute of Occupational Safety and Health, NIOSH, or NPTEL, because fly by night there are enough people manufacturing masks and maybe PPE. This has to be certified. Very important. So Joshi sir, you told me to talk in detail. Eye
Yes,
protective
sir.
wear is very, very important. You
So
know,
another 10 minutes for you, sir.
okay, sir. So you have to have a side shield for eye protective wear. PPE is as indicated. I would say a simple mask, surgical, a head cap, and apna clinical apron, and on that, you like a kitchen apron, you have a plastic thing. That's good enough. If you're treating a patient where you're going to do procedure which will generate aerosol or some surgical, either bone dust and all, then you have to use a PPE. But it's not very simple. This, once you wear this, 4 things will have to be done. Number one, you just cannot undress. This is wrong. You just do all this. Number two, you cannot drink, you cannot use your toilet, and you are in for a very heavy, what you call sweating. And so what they say, not more than 4 hours you are supposed to wear this and go out. And everybody put name on person. So that was dawning. This is doffing. Everything has a step. You have to go stepwise.
The question that many of us have is that many have small clinics. How do you go about doing this donning and doffing in a smaller clinical setup?
So, okay, sir. So I'll just put the next. Yes, sir. I fully agree with you. There's, that I said, this is difficult. So better not to take procedures which will require this. Number one, you will have to have a separate room, sir, for sure, as per guidelines, where you're going to don and doff. Then you will have to have special containers where you're going to put this. And then, of course, there's a biomedical waste guideline. So you are right. So we'll have to again put our heads together. But very, very valid question. At least for the moment, I will not have an answer. But if you are doing this, you have to follow on. So by the night, fly by night, there's so many people doing. Now, this is
one of the things, sir, just to interrupt you, I would strongly recommend is that all dentists should
Sir.
get into the habit of wearing scrub suits in their clinics. That is the primary requirement. You can't wear your home clothes and practice dentistry anymore. You need to come to your clinics and change into scrub suits first. Even if your clinic is small, simply come 15 minutes earlier, shut down the clinic, put the shutter down, change into your scrubs, and then be ready to proceed with the rest of the work. But scrubs is very important. I think going forward, all of us should get habituated first to wear scrubs, and over that you may wear whatever gown you want, but scrubs is an essential requirement going forward. I don't know whether Dr. Dhusia may want to elaborate on that.
No, sir, I would appreciate, and a small beginning has been made. All the postgraduates in our dental colleges anyways are wearing scrub suits. Wearing, it is the best thing that can be done. In fact, just to show, I thought I'll wear a scrub and wear my apron and sit for this thing. But sir, now this is a very important link. If you click on this link, the Hafkin people give you, now this is the list of people who are making PPEs in Mumbai. And the last column they'll have a certificate showing them. This is the link, sir. So, the name of the manufacturer, yes, address, the number, and then the link also will show his certificate. Waste disposal as before, but the important thing is you'll have to use a double layered yellow bag, number one. You'll have to name or put a name bag, COVID-19, all the bags, and of course the rest are the same. And of course you'll have to know, some people give it to their people who are having, this is very important, controversial. To my mind, HCQ prophylaxis, 30 people are taken care of, 70 may not. However, at Fan Hospital, every faculty has been asked, and they are giving this free. It's very simple, 400 mg BD leading dose. Then one every week for 3 weeks. If you are not in acute contact, 7 weeks if you are doing a COVID patients. And there's an advisory also again, ICMR, on this. And they say it is not guaranteeing you against the disease. And these are the numbers, very important. 1 and 1 6, then you can press 1, 2, 3, and 4. And it really helps you out in taking care of, or with your all your queries. And thank you so much. On the left is this. This is the police officer whose hand was cut, and I am showing it this in a very as a very proud person, because one of the members there was a Fan Hospital PG student. And thank you so much. This is the references, and I think that thank you, Dr. Joshi, for giving me a patient hearing. Hello, can you hear me? Hello.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
I'm done, sir. Okay, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, Dr. Dhusia, for a very lucid and very practical presentation on how to change the style of functioning in your clinics and what are the challenges that we are facing, and some of the cures that we could give to you at this point of time. Some cures are not known. We are all in a very volatile environment as of now. Science will need to do a lot of research to give us more definitive answers to this current pandemic that we are facing. And going forward, we will keep getting updates and answers, and then only we will be able to guide you even further. So some of the questions that, of course, came in are, as I mentioned already, how to take care of aerosols. And I was mentioning earlier that high volume suction is one of the primary requirements for you to take care of high volume of aerosols. At the same time, you must have your rooms to be, your operatories need to be very well ventilated. That's what Dr. Dhusia said, and he also suggested some. Is there any further points you may want to make on the air purifier, sir?
Sir, what? No, purifiers, sir, they'll have, the latest ones will have something called as UV light also. So whatever materials, yes, for example, bacteria, it is also made sterile at that point of time. One thing which all of us may not be able to afford is something called as the negative pressure room.
Yes.
Have that. And now, for example, in theaters, we have a HEPA filter, which actually filters the entire air, air.
Yes.
They keep on, but this is the future. but at least 5% of our clinics can, of course, have a negative pressure room or a room
Okay.
which can really take care.
Another question that has been asked, sir, is that what is the role of antibiotics or steroids in oral surgery patient during this pandemic time?
So I'll tell you, there's an interesting paper. People who are on steroids, say for example, who had arthritis and all, they were found to respond well even after testing positive. So what
True.
they say, that I was telling you about the DIC, what they say,
Yes.
anti-inflammatories do or may prevent the disease. It has a huge role. And there is enough data, this is from Italy, telling
Yes.
that people who are on steroids, really, so there is no harm. In fact, I had sprained my leg. I'm using my Diclofenac or Indiflam every single day,
Yeah.
just to say, there's a definite role. For
Okay.
sure.
Another question that comes to us is, are cotton gowns, which are autoclavable, good enough
Yes,
for
sir.
some of our patients?
100%. In fact, to my mind, for 90% patients, autoclavable surgical gowns are the best. You wear a eye protective wear, a head cap, mask, surgical mask, and a visor or a face shield. Good enough. At the end of the day, just re-autoclave. And for example, I have a friend. I'll not tell you again, Sharif. He has just bought 15 gowns for him and his associate. In fact, one of the leading oral surgeons, he says, big thing, just use this and you'll be happy. I'm with him. And I'm sure even Roshi sir will agree with me.
Correct. So the only challenge with as far as the cotton gowns is that you have to be very careful where you put it after use and who washes it and where it gets washed. That is the challenge, because before autoclaving, it needs to be washed and then disinfected and then brings to be. So that is a challenge, but it is not a contraindication. You all can use it, provided you are able to do the rest of the things properly.
Sure.
How then another question, of course, you already mentioned, but again, I will ask, how do we disinfect or fumigate our clinics? Do we do it after each patient or end of the session? What do we do?
So now the guidelines say between 2 patients, you need to fumigate. Fogging can be done, but I don't know, some of people are against it. What you just need to do is cover surfaces with plastic or sanitization. But so that's what they say. The downtime between 2 patients today is going to be 45 minutes.
That's right.
I will recommend between till at least 4-5 months of practice, between 2 patients, you need to sanitize your entire operatory. I would do that if I want. It's okay.
Yes.
I may not earn money, but then
sanitization must, of course, wiping of all the surfaces.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. That is very important. Whether you use hypochlorite or use quaternary ammonium compounds,
yes, sir.
or you use hydrogen peroxide containing silver ions. You can use either of these products and you may sanitize the clinic. And best is if you have a ventilated room, then you keep the windows open. If you have a fan, let the fan run, let the AC run also. Let all the air get thrown out. The purpose is to push the air within the clinic outside. But if you don't have a window and your clinics are not having adequate ventilation, you have no choice, I think, but to do fogging at least between patients. If it is feasible, that is going to take away a lot of your time. But at this point of time, we have no other answers for the same. Another question that comes is, how can we identify a silent carrier? I don't know whether we have an answer for that. Sir?
Take a swab.
I know.
You have to send a swab.
Yes, you need to do, if hopefully some rapid test comes,
yes, sir.
which is cheaply available and can be done by us also in dental clinics in another few months of time, then maybe we can detect that also. How long can the coronavirus last on different surfaces?
This is actually what, see.
It is available on WHO site and everywhere.
Yes, sir. 2 hours on cardboard, 7 to 8 hours on the floor, steel, foam.
So anywhere between 3 hours to 3 days. That's what I have understood.
Yes, sir. Of course, yes. I think even when we all spoke, same thing was put. Right?
But there is no reason for us to think which surface, how many hours. You simply clean, disinfect, and sanitize every touch and contact surface. Simply do that and don't think about how long it is going to remain. Another question that is coming in is, can we start elective surgeries?
Elective surgery where? I see. I'm sure it's from an oral surgeon. Elective surgery, for that I'll have to have an anesthetist who will be very friendly with me. I'll tell you, they are,
So we are talking of, sir, local anesthetic surgeries.
we can, but there should be a PPE. Try and use minimal amount of irrigation. What we would do in GDC earlier. Number two, now because what else can you do if you want to start? But I would have not done, at least for 2 to 3 months for
Correct.
sure.
Yeah. So
For sure.
As of now, I think we should keep elective surgeries away.
Yes,
Wait
sir.
for at least another 4 to 5 weeks minimum to understand the curve of this pandemic. And then depending on government directives, then we can maybe think of. A related question also is, can cancer surgeries be taken up?
Now that will depend on whether it is life-saving or not.
So I am aware that across, I think, cancer surgeries, some of these cases cannot wait because the spread can happen, and the cancer surgeon is best suited if he feels that it is required. I think nobody stops a cancer surgeon after taking all the precautions that is necessary, because finally you will have to put into the taraju mein dalna padega ki is it beneficial to wait or it is detrimental to wait. And finally, see, in spite of all these guidelines, I believe that a healthcare worker is the one who is now acting like a Supreme Court judge. He is the Supreme Court judge as far as patient is concerned. You have to take a call, finally, whether you want to do it, is it warrants urgent care or it doesn't. And that is our dilemma and challenge. Okay.
Sir, I'll draw a simile, sir.
Yes.
None of the obstetricians, OBGYN work goes on. Cesareans are being done, So, it is like that.
Yeah.
We have to just weigh, as you said, right, pros and cons. If it is life-threatening, of course,
Yeah. Is it mandatory for us and our staff to get tested for COVID? You already mentioned that it would be
Yes.
advisable
Yes,
and
sir.
highly recommended. Though,
Yes,
of
sir.
course, I get tested today. I don't know after 1 week what is my status. So I can't keep getting tested time and again. I
Again,
may
but at
do it
least,
once, but I don't know 15 days down the line where I am going around, moving around, and I may again get positive. But if it is possible and these tests are accessible to us, please get it done is the advice.
Sir.
Next is, so smaller clinics we already considered. So my bit on the smaller clinics, though the clinic size may be small, there are certain things which you simply will have to follow. And it may mean, so suppose you have to change clothes and you don't have a separate room to change. Obviously, that is what small clinics problem is. You will need to keep all the other staff outside, put down the shutter, change your shelf, then you stand outside, let the others change. All this will have to be done. You will have to find your own ways and means of getting certain things done, right?
So,
is sanitization advisable if the clinic size permits? You spoke about the ozone sanitization, isn't it, sir?
That is for the patients and relatives, for the people.
Yes. So if the clinic size permits, is it a...
I would recommend highly, because, one thing is now you are looking at a patient who's, it is all about, the viral load you are going to lessen, or maybe the bacterial load. You are not, even after sanitization, you're not assuring that the patient will be, or the environment is virus free.
Yes.
But, as they say, the number of viruses, bacteria, they come down. And
so the fomites on the body of the person get reduced.
Yes, sir.
By sanitization. But we have another threat which we are facing is inside the mouth and the oral mucosa, right? Which the patient is going to sit and open his mouth. So you may have, it may help in a certain way, but whether it is practical is the question mark. Another question that comes is that will a patient having fever because of abscess show a normal pulse oximeter reading?
No, this is, the answer is science is not mathematics. The patient could be in shock. It could be toxic. Still he may have. But by the oxygen will be okay. But, other things, there'll be high pulse, fever, all those things will be there. Signs of shock and toxicity will be there.
Yeah. So similar, another question is
The whole point of using a pulse oximetry was, by the
Yes.
government, was to identify people who have SpO2 below, 94, between 91. So, suspicion, and then send them forward. They have
Correct.
started doing
So it is a basic screening process, just like the
Yes.
infrared thermometer. So similar question is, hypoxia may show up on a pulse oximeter at a later stage of infection. What if it's in an initial stage and no abnormal readings happen on the oximeter?
Okay, so infection, what, life-threatening?
No. She's saying that the COVID-19 related infection.
No, so it is like this. If you don't have infection, it is either life-threatening or not. If not, of course, I'll do a pulse oximetry, and I'll start whatever, antibiotics, painkillers, and all, and wait and watch. Whatever. At a later date, because the oxygen saturation comes on because of things like interstitial lung disease, asthmatics, COPD patients, age-related, where alveoli are not, chronic bronchospasm. For a patient who is nice and normal, if he has an infection, there are very few chances that he may go into, lesser SpO2. And actually, in fact, what they say is 90 is as good as 60 saturation.
Yeah, that's right. What is your take on the this Arogya Setu app? Is it beneficial to us and to the patients?
It is. When the government says it's very important, because one thing is, if we honestly, answer them, we will know what is, whether we are at risk or
Correct.
not, or whatever. Number one.
Yeah.
Number two, if my Bluetooth and my net is on, definitely, if I'm a high risk person, if I'm around, someone will become to know. And number three, what is happening today is, when there is a lot of us, when we are passing through those police barricades, many of them ask, "Aapka tum chahe ka download kela hai ka?"
Okay.
So
Right.
it is important. I have done that. As my wife has
Yes.
done that.
I think it is very important that all of us have that Arogya Setu app.
Sir.
And in fact, if your patient shows you his Arogya Setu app, it is like one screening already done.
Sir,
He shows
perfect.
that whether he is safe, or whether, because he is connected by Bluetooth to his building other mobile apps which are already downloaded. So if there is any risk, it will show up in his Arogya Setu app also. So I think it is extremely important that we have patients and we request them to download the Arogya Setu app also.
So Joshi sir, one
yes.
thermometer goes free to this person who asked this question. Huh? This is a very good question. एक आपको free gift दे दीजिए. Best
Yes,
question.
yes. Can spirit be used as a hand sanitizer?
And now, I'll tell you what, it can be used, because it's almost, I think it's around 67% alcohol. The current ones where, colored. It can be, but the thing is, how often will you use? And you have to taste that spirit once in a lifetime. You will never use it again, because it is.
Yes, and the smell also is very pungent.
Yes.
Smell
But
of
then
spirit also
someone
is-
was telling me, why not? You can. See, if I'm scrubbing an area and I'm taking incision,
That's
it
right.
does work.
Yeah, correct. So those were some of the questions that came. One more question that has come to us is, can we hang out the PP, including masks, in a room to be fumigated and fumigate the entire room?
No.
So there are a lot of jugaad questions coming up.
No, you should not. I would rather use, and put it in this thing and dispose it of. Never. Because it's huge risk. Not worth it.
Yes, so I also believe that your own operatory cannot be used to disinfect and sanitize the PPE because the chance of, you are increasing the load within the operatory. So I would also say that it is not advisable to do that. Thank you very much once again. I'll sum up the day's proceedings. Friends, the ongoing corona pandemic has created unparalleled fear in the minds of mankind. We all know that, and we all are facing that. Humanity all over the world is trying, praying, and playing its role in containing the pandemic faced by the world. These are unusual, uncertain times, which we had never imagined. None of us ever even dreamt of such a thing happening. The dental professionals have always been exposed to various life-threatening diseases, like HIV, hepatitis B, tuberculosis, to name a few. But this new N COVID-19 varies from all the above mentioned infections. It simply is different. Please understand that. And we know that it is different because has a very high human-to-human transmission rate and relatively long incubation period. And it is extremely infectious. Let us not forget at any point of time in the thought process of wanting to do whatever you want. It is an extremely infectious disease. And I strongly believe that we are, as dentists, are much better prepared to deal with this situation than many of the other colleagues in the field of healthcare. I and you keep moving around, keep consulting our medical colleagues. When have we seen a physician wearing a mask? When have we seen your general practitioner wearing a mask or gloves? We have been at least used to wearing a mask and gloves for dog number of years now. So we are just to take one step forward to do what additional things are required. But there are other medical colleagues who need to do much more than us, and they are not well versed with it because they didn't need it till now. We always needed it, but we need only to upgrade ourselves. So let us not get bogged down by kaise hoga, kya hoga. Simply start doing the drills. Just go to your clinics and start thinking what will be required. The other day I heard Dr. Naresh Trehan, the world-renowned cardiovascular and cardiothoracic surgeon, say on one of his TV interviews, and I quote him, "We should be dispassionate about everything other than saving human lives." I think at this point of time, when you ask whether we should start practice, whether I should do this, whether I should do that, just remember your primary responsibility, even as a citizen today, happens to be that you must try to save a human life. Keep that in mind and do whatever you wish to do. All of us are eager to get back to our clinics, but we should remember that the coronavirus has very high human-to-human transmission and leaves no room for error. It will no room for error. Please understand this. Human life is more important, and that includes all of us, our staff, our families, and the community that you live in. Please remember that. Sure, we can restart our clinics for dental emergencies, provided you are equipped with skills and resources to prevent cross-transmission of infection, especially the coronavirus. Utilize this time to acquire the skills and build resources at your clinic. Plan and execute any changes required in your front office, in your operatory, in your sterilization zone. Being a healthcare personnel, it is our interest to remain updated about the progress of this pandemic. Keep visiting the Government of India, the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare website regularly, the WHO Health website also, Diksha site, as Dr. Rajesh, the Secretary of IDA Mumbai branch mentioned. Tomorrow we could be a part of a mass vaccination program. Tomorrow, as and when vaccine is found out, we could become part of the healthcare workers, people who can help do this mass vaccination. And this is an evolving and constantly changing situation. And all recommendations that you read are based on the best available information presently available at this time. The global financial meltdown has taken a toll on our profession too. Of course it has. Nobody denies that, and nobody can deny it. This is an unprecedented situation for most of us and calls for an extraordinary tolerance, right? We have faced this financial pain just once in our lifetime. At least for me, if you ask me, this is the first time I'm facing this financial pain. But let us think about our farmers, about whom we read every year because of drought, because of heavy rainfall, other weather conditions, such that they face this pain every year. So let us not, look at only us and inward. Let us also think that there are many others who have faced this year on year. We have faced this for 1 year, and it is likely that our profession may take a while to regain its glory. But be rest assured, and we are all very confident, be rest assured that it will certainly regain its glory once again. And all of us are together in this fight. No one is alone. And I'm very happy to tell you that the Indian Dental Association and its branches, the state branches, local branches, are among the most forward-looking organizations, and they are the people. All our office bearers at the state level and local level are day in and day out putting in efforts to bring some help to the dental community. Thank you very much.
Sir, I'll take a moment. Actually,
Yes.
whilst I was preparing this, sir,
Yes.
I had talked to my professor of psychiatry, Professor Nilesh
Yes.
Shah, and I was in there lots of anxiety, depression. So we were trying to make a 5 minutes video. He was trying to, and especially, so maybe next time, whenever we have a similar program,
We should do
we can
that.
incorporate that, or we can have a lot of medical experts coming in. I just remembered because of lack of time we couldn't.
Yeah. So
Thank you, sir.
thank you very much to President Dr. Mahindra Rajpal, Secretary Dr. Rajesh Gaikwad, CD Convener Dr. Bimal Mehta for putting together this webinar. I hope it has been of some help. Also, a big thank you to our partners, technical partners in this webinar, Alchem Laboratories. And I sign off on a note saying that remember, opening up is good, but staying open is even more important. So take care.
Bye.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, dear all viewers. Myself, Dr. Nitin from Alchem Laboratories. I'm a clinical pharmacologist. I would like to thank all the viewers from Alchem Burgeon Enzoflam team for participating and attending this wonderful session, which was taken by Dr. Hemant Dhusia, sir. And thank you, Dr. Joshi, for moderating it. It was a wonderful session, which was attended by more than 3,600 participants. And I really thank that you brought up the important issues of how to start the practice and what precautionary measures to be taken. And this would be beneficial not only for the dentistry practice, but for in general practice also, for those general practitioners, be it consultants, for all the other faculties. So quite a informative lecture, quite informative for me also as a doctor. So wonderful session. Thank you both the doctors. I would also like to thank Indian Dental Association, Dr. Mahindra Rajpal, for allowing us to partner with IDA and taking this session through. Another thing what I would like to add is about Enzoflam. What the composition is: the diclofenac, the serratiopeptidase, and the paracetamol, which is a stronger painkiller. Because it contains the important one, that is the serratiopeptidase, and diclofenac being a strong painkiller. Serratiopeptidase being an enteric-coated one, so it is though it is an enzyme, it does not get digested. So that is one of the important USPs or important point to be noted. And secondly, it depends, the effect of the drug or effect any tablet depends on how faster the tablet is dissolved or disintegrated in our stomach. So faster the dissolution and disintegration, faster it would be the absorption and faster would be the effect. So that is why Enzoflam becomes the number one, and it is a stronger painkiller. That the reason is that we had done a in laboratory test wherein disintegration type was noted, and it was seen that within 5 minutes 50% of the tablet was disintegrated, dissolved. So the faster the dissolution, which is actually a pharmacological property, so faster the dissolution, faster will be the absorption. So thus there are faster results with Enzoflam. So this is what I would like to add, and n number of multiple indications what Dr. Dhusia had presented in this slide. So to name some to be used in RCT, tooth extraction, or periodontitis. So these would be the simple indications wherein all the dentists can be using it. So thank you all again for this overwhelming response. Over to you, Dr. Bimal.
Thank you for an absolutely enthralling session, Dr. Dhusia, sir. I'm sure all of us have a lot to take back. And this webinar has certainly addressed all our queries with regards to the current pandemic situation and the changes that we will need to bring about in our practices when they open up. I once again thank Alchem Burgeon and their entire team for this wonderful support that they have given us. A special word of thanks for Dr. Sanjay Joshi for the seamless moderation that he was able to do. And above all, a big round of applause for you all, the participants, without whom this wouldn't have been possible. We at IDA Mumbai are committed to bring you such wonderful sessions in the very near future as well. So stay tuned. Thank you once again. Thank you. Jai IDA.